Good morning, everyone. Today is Chamisha Asar B'Av, the 15th day of Av, otherwise known as Tu B'Av. It's a very special day. We're going to learn Tanya on page 62 in the Chayenu, a new section, Epistle 5 in Igeres HaKodesh. In today's lesson, the world to come, Gan Eden, where souls delight in godliness, was created through the letter Yud of the name Yud Ke Vav Ke, which, like its form, is just a point, represents a pre-developed core state of being. Chachma, just an idea, koyachma. In the human analogy, this is where our pre-programmed ability to articulate a variety of sounds stem from super-intelligent function of the mind. You get an idea in your head, it's just a little idea. And then you have to develop it. It's a spark. Thank you, Steve. Spark, just a flash of something. And you develop that idea through Bina, and das is when you know it fully. Pistol 5. These are some of the things that we've discussed this. If you've followed along through the trajectory of the Tanya from the beginning, we know these concepts. But we'll continue. Okay, we're on page 62 in the Chayenu. V'yaz David Shem, and David made a name. The simple meaning of the pasuk is either, as Rashi explains, that David gave the Jewish people a good name by burying the dead of their enemies, or as other commentators explain, that David made a name for himself through his heroism, which doesn't exactly line up with how we were learning on Shabbos. You don't look to make yourself a great name. You want to make for the Jewish people. But we'll see. Igeres HaKodesh Mishum Shenemar Vayhi David Oisem Mishpat Tzedakah L'Chalamai. The Zohar relates that the above phrase to the pasuk that David executed justice and tzedakah with all his people, the name that he thereby made is thus the divine name, in the words of Hashem. In the words of Zohar. Bachar Rabbi Shimon va'amar man avid shmad kadisha b'chol yoma adiyahiv tzedakah the miskinei chulu. Shimon wept and said, "Who makes the holy name every day? He who gives charity unto the poor." You want to have a good name, not that you're doing it for yourself, for your ego, but a person with a good name is somebody who cares about the downtrodden, who gives tzedakah every single day. So two questions come up. How can we possibly say that the holy name is made? The holy name exists. That's Hashem. And B, how is the name made? Through the giving of charity. Yuvan Bahakti Maimer Rabbeinu Zakolim Rachal Apostle Kipika Hashem Surei Lamim. This may be understood in the light of the comments of our sages of blessed memory on the pasuk, for by the divine name that is composed of the letters Yud and Hey, God is the strength of the worlds. The Hebrew word here, translated strength, literally rak, is sur. Those whose root letters imply an additional meaning. Namely, in this context, by means of the divine name that is composed of the letters Yud and Hey, God formed or created the worlds. Hashem nivra ilam hazeh, b'Yud nivra ilam haba. I'm sorry. B'Hei nivra ilam hazeh, b'Yud nivra ilam haba. On the above quoted verse, the sages say, this world was created by the letter Hey of the divine name Yud K. And the world to come was created with the letter Yud of the divine name Yud and Hey. So in what respect is this world connected with the letter Hey and the world to come with the letter Yud? The Rebbe answers this question by first explaining the concept of the world to come and Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. Perosh, Shahatanug, Shemis'aneg Nishmoi Satzadikim. Benenin Miziv Ashchina Omer Began Eden Elyon V'Tachtoin. This means that the delight which the souls of the righteous experience as they enjoy the splendor of the Shekhinah, which radiates in the upper and lower gardens of Eden. That's where, we all have a portion of the world to come. righteous are there. We have to sometimes work a little bit at it. What is this Garden of Eden, and why does it bring so much delight? It consists of their pleasure in their appreciation and conception, in their apprehension and conception. What does that mean? For they conceive with the faculty of Chachma, and they know the faculty of Das and understand the faculty of Bina. So they actually, in this world, delight in Hashem because they understand Hashem. Maybe not fully, but when they daven and they meditate on godliness, it brings on a tremendous delight. Some degree of apprehension, understanding of the light and vitality which fuses there, in that world, in a revealed manner from the Ein Sof onto their souls and their spirit of understanding. So the spiritual life force finds its way down into this world in so concealed a manner that all we know of this is the mere fact of its existence. We know that God exists, but it's very hard to tap into any deeper level of understanding. Gan Eden, by contrast, the spiritual life force issues forth in such a manner that its very essence is apprehended. Hashkacha ama hamahus. I'm sorry, hasagas hamahus. It's hard to read the Hebrew when it's written in English. So it's broken down, it's brought down in a way of apprehension, in a way of comprehension, so that each and everyone can understand and attain some perception according to his level and his deeds. In this world, where God's hidden, it's very difficult to really understand and comprehend anything other than the fact that God exists. But in the spiritual world, that's why we say Olam Ha'emes. All of the external factors are peeled away, and the understanding of godliness is apparent in the heavens or in the in Olam, in Gan Eden, up in heaven. And this is why the Zohar says that the world to come is referred to as Bina, which is understanding. So that world is permeated by the light of the sphere of Bina, which enables the soul to apprehend and understand Hashem. This flow issues from the plane of supernal Chachma, Shehu Makir, Haskalah V'Asaga Hanikra B'Shem Bina, which is the source of the conception and apprehension known as Bina. So Chachma is the initial intuitive seminal flash of perception. What did you call it before? The spark. That's what it is. Not really understood, but something's there. Something special about to happen. But Bina is the process of mental gestation. It goes to your mind, it regurgitates within your mind, you think about it, you really explore it from every angle, and it systematically develops and expands that inspiration into comprehensive understanding. That's Bina. Chachma is the primordial stage of the intellect before apprehension and understanding becomes manifest. Chachma is in a stage of concealment. And the Alter Rebbe here is speaking of a particular level of Chachma that transcends intellect and comprehension. Before it even goes into your brain and understanding, the first from the more external level of Chachma, which is the spark of intellect, and is already illumined by it. So it too is as yet the unparticularized seminal point of the okay. Preceding this, the level of Chachma discussed here utterly transcends revealed intellect because it's too obscure, it's too high. It's just the concept, but really before a concept even. Just that spark. Rakshmaat mizar sham zeher sham shefea nimshach misham lebechinas bina. Except for some minuscule measure that here and there flows and issues forth from it to the faculty of bina. From that flash, a little bit trickles down into the bina to be able to understand. So the dual form of the biblical idiom borrowed here implies that the light of this flash of chachma undergoes two distinct stages of tzimtzum, or self-contraction. The first stage limits the light, and the second attenuates it so that it's able to descend into bina. So first it limits it, and now it funnels it into bina. In order to make it possible for the soul to understand and apprehend the concept which is intrinsically concealed. How could you understand how could you understand anything about Hashem? But the neshama can sense it up there in ways that down here it cannot. So this higher form of supernal intellect is the radiance of the Shekhinah, a ray of Hashem's infinitude that illuminates Gan Eden. So everybody there experiences it in ways that we cannot down here. No created being, even a soul of such stature that inhibits Gan Eden, could possibly fathom this degree of intellect. In order for it to be understood by man's soul, it has to undergo twofold descent, as mentioned above, contraction and going through the screens and the funnels and all this different process. Nonetheless, even after this descent, it still pertains to the very essence, the mahus of godliness that is comprehended by the soul in Gan Eden. And the Holy Zohar refers to the dot in the palace. Chachma is the dot or the point, like the yud. Just like it's a starting point. As Steve, what do we say? Phrased it, the spark. It's a good word for this. Just see a spark fly out of, you're working with metal, boom, that spark that flies out. And so it's a point or a dot of intellect that illuminates the palace of Bina. Nevertheless, even when already housed in Bina, it still remains a seminal point of intellect that transcends the details that constitute the comprehension of Bina. V'zuhi tmunas yud shel shem havaya baruch hu. Indeed, this is the shape of the yud, of the four-letter name of Hashem. The letter yud is like a point. In the Torah, it's written out, but when you write it, it's just a little. When you see the sparks flying, it's sometimes like a little line, not too long. The letter yud is shaped like a point, which is a mere point. Benikra Eden, Asher Alav Nemar, Ayin Loi Rasa. Chachma is referred to in Gan Eden as no eye has beheld it. Meaning it's kind of an illumination that transcends and defies comprehension. Benikra Abba Yosad Berato. Moreover, Chachma is referred to as the father who founded the daughter. Chachma is the father or source of the letters of speech, which are called the daughter, the level of Malchus. So one might have expected the letters of speech to derive from the emotive faculties, midas, or from bina. For surely a person articulates letters of speech when he seeks to express an emotion. There's much more revelation there. Alter Rebbe, however, now goes on to explain that the letters of speech, in fact, derive from chachma, which transcend comprehension. You have an idea, that's where your speech ultimately comes from. But while it's in its infancy stage, it's not, you don't even know how to put it into words. So then it has to go through bina. And then das is when you're able to say it and become one with it. Chachma bira das, Chabad, right? Pirosh, kihine, isavus, oisis, adibrayitzim, hey. This means the formation of letters of speech which proceed from the 5 organs of articulation. It's not an intellectual process. It comes from the mouth, tongue, the lips, the teeth, the palate, the throat. The letters do not emanate from the soul as a result of an intellectual imperative. It is also not inherent in the nature of these organs that they must pronounce these letters. You have to be taught how to do it, right? So you teach your kids, say Aleph, Beis, by means of the breath and the sound that strikes them. Either a natural faculty or by an intellectual faculty. Beis, Vav, Mem, Pei, Mehem. With the lips, for example, by means of which the letters Beis, Vav, Mem, and Pei are uttered with the lips, since the lips are the most visible of the organs of speech, because everything else is hidden within your mouth. Alter Rebbe chooses his example to use the letters which they form, and one can readily see that they pronounce these letters. It's impelled neither by the nature of the lips themselves nor by the faculty of intellect. Ein atava v'lo yasecho noisen litzias mitva arba chelki shinui bitui oise selu al pi shinui tenuas asvasayim. Neither nature nor the intellect compels the utterances of the four varying types of pronunciations of these letters in accordance with the variations in the movement of the lips. Which are moved by the same breath and the same sound that strikes them equally. So since the letter Beis and Vav, for example, are both formed by the same breath and the same sound, the distinction between them must be made by the movements of the lips. You say, what's that got to do with the brain and the intellectual understanding? It's a muscle memory. It's something you have to be taught. It's like dancing, not a thought process. When the letter Beis is pronounced, the lips are pursed in one way. When the letter Vav is pronounced, they're pursed differently. You move your mouth differently to make different sounds. This being so, one would expect that it would take a conscious mental effort to move the lips in one specific manner to pronounce the Beis, and in another manner to pronounce the Vav. Alternatively, if we were dependent on nature, the speaker would naturally want to move his lips in the different ways necessary for the formation of one letter or the other. But on the contrary, Shinoi ha'tenuos sheb'sfasayim hu lefi shinoi bitui ha'osis sheb'ratzon ha'nefesh levate b'sfasayim kirutzayna. The change in the movement of the lips depends on the difference in pronunciations of the letters the soul wishes to utter by means of the lips. So you're not thinking of how you're moving your lips, you're thinking of how you want to get the word out. And your lips follow suit. Very interesting. When one desires to say a particular letter, the lips instinctively and spontaneously move accordingly. Do you think of how you're going to move your mouth when you talk? Nobody does. You think of which words you want to say and how you want to get them out. It's not the other way around, that it is the will and intentions of the soul to make a change in the motion of the lips. As they're moving now in the utterance of these four letters. As is empirically evident, the soul does not at all intend or know how to intend the change in the motion of lips, which articulate those distinctions between the various levels. So since the soul neither intends nor even knows how to direct the lips, the soul is a spiritual entity. The lips are part of the external part of a person's body. So obviously, the mere desire to utter certain letters that results in the automatic movement of the lips in the appropriate manner, it's even more evident with the pronunciation of the vowels. When the soul wishes to utter the kamatz vowel, the lips spontaneously become compressed. And ubapatach iftachim asvasayim, with the patach vowel, the lips open of their own accord. V'loy shiritzon nefesh limkoitz v'loy liftayach klal of klal. And not at all because of the will of the soul. Not trying to dictate how the lips are going to move. It's just that you want to say the words a certain way. There's no need to go any further into a matter which is simple, comprehensible, and intelligible to every intelligent person. This is understandable, right? Alter Rebbe is laying it out for us. It's not a complicated thing. Your neshama is not dictating to your mouth how to say the words. It's flowing out. There's a point that we're going to get to in a moment. So the pronunciation of the letters and vowels transcend the apprehended and comprehended intellect. But rather, it derives, there's no seeming connection between the words that we say and the neshama, and the desire to articulate a certain word. Where does it come from? It comes from a hidden intellect and primordial stage of the intellect, which is in the articulate soul. And this is why an infant cannot speak, even though it understands everything. For speech does not result from the revealed and apprehended intellect, but from the more rarefied hidden intellect, which in the infant has yet to be developed. I just want to deviate for just a moment. The Rebbe spoke about when somebody, I don't know how it came up, and I want to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly what the Rebbe said. When it came to people with special needs, and in particular, let's just use the example of autism. So the Rebbe said something along these lines. It's written and it's, the Rebbe said this, but again, don't quote me word for word. But
the hotel video of some said my son is autistic and I of course I need a lot of help. The Rebbe said, which state, oh God.
so
This group have abilities to be closer to HaKodesh Baruch Hu that we can't even understand.
So again, I was thinking about this just now because children cannot speak. They might not be able to articulate the words because they haven't, just learned the basic process yet. But they understand and they know, and their neshama, just like we were saying about the, person who's autistic. There you go. So their neshama and their connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu and their understanding and their level be much, much deeper and greater and stronger than as you get older, you start to use your brain too much. Allow the soul to speak. And sometimes the soul doesn't articulate the words as well as, But on the other hand, the malach taps you on the lip and you forget it all. You're still closer to knowing all the Torah right when you're born. Very good. So we thus see that the letters of speech derive from Chachma. That's where it originally comes from. And there's not much there. It's just that flash, that spark. This then is the meaning of the father who founded the daughter. Chachma is the father, or source of the letters of speech, which are called the daughter, or the sphere of Malchus. We're going to finish this thought process tomorrow as it continues. It's heavy stuff, but we're going to go through it. And the takeaway for today is in the Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, there's a revelation of Hashem. Not merely a revelation. It's not like, oh, you see it. You feel it. You sense it. It becomes a part of you. An understanding and an appreciation for Hashem. However, the revelation and appreciation correspond to the good deeds that you do in this world. So to be able to feel it more up there, we have to give more down here. And by the way, can't take any of it with you. All right. So that's it for today. Thanks for sticking it out a little bit longer than usual, but some good stuff. Right, Yuda? Everyone have a wonderful simcha. Have a wonderful, joyous day of Hamisha B'Av, day of joyous celebration. Nati, go out in the fields and pick one.